just to spice up his show more. Art Holden, you know, when he told me, when we were talking, about 14, 15 months ago, or maybe a year ago when it was, I said, you got to tell me the truth about Art. Art, you got to tell me about Mel's Hoe. Was that a real story? And he laughed and he laughed. No, that was one of my good friends on 10 meters. We came up with this whole thing about Mel's Hole. And he said, after it went over good the first and second time, then we came up with one that was really ridiculous with Mel Waters. And he said the people just ate it up. And, he said he was in shock over it.
That's wild.
Yeah, but
isn't that wild?
Yeah, but that's the entertainment part. People enjoyed it.
That's exactly the entertainment part. Yeah.
Or the guy.
I'm sure will cause controversy because people want, whatever real information they can get about the strange goings on in our world. But when you get down to entertainment, and certainly that was because I remember the calls he would take, when they were talking about Mel's Hole and everything like that, and it really did fascinate people.
Well, the attorney that does the Paranormal Lawyers show on my network on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Here he was a Superior Court judge. He's a practicing attorney in the state of Washington, right? He, even wrote a little song and recorded a song about Mel's Hole. He was so intrigued. And we were talking maybe about a year ago. He said, I went looking everywhere near Ellensburg for Mel's, where Mel's Hole was supposed to be. And I started laughing at him, and he goes, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "There is no Mel's Hole. It was just he spent, I don't know how many days and trips trying to find Mel's Hole. And I I really deflated him really big time, because he believed in it so strongly. I shot him down.
That's amazing.
It made me feel
well,
bad.
You know
for
what?
about
I
5
would
minutes.
not have known any different. I mean, I took the story for what it was, and it certainly makes you think. It's like, is this real and everything? But the way when he presented it as that, you're just thinking, okay, he has a lot of amazing and strange and even tall tales on his show. What category does this fall into there? But it was always interesting, too, because when people started to talk about going out there and exploring and stuff like that, they would always kind of steer people away and clear of that because they didn't, because of the danger. If we don't know what's in there, we don't know how deep it is, we could lose people. Which always, kind of said to me, coming from as an illusionist point of view, going, well, is there anything really going on there? Because they certainly don't seem to want people taking a close look at this.
Well, then, honestly, Ron, he did a second one, not with Mel's Hole, but he did one where, again, another one of his buddies, on the radio bands, amateur band, came up with this thing that he was going to fly over in his experimental plane over Area 51. And he, made it even. He said, okay, I'm going to let this go over and see how the audience, picks it out and sees how many of them can tell it's phony. And also, this guy supposedly flies over in his experimental craft over Area 51. Towards the end of it, F-16s are coming out. This laser gun starts coming out of the ground, The audience is really intrigued in this thing, right? And basically, he gets shot down. But, when the guy goes, well, hey, Art, they're shooting at me, and you hear cannon fire. Okay, like boom, boom, boom. Now, you're up in an airplane, right? And number one, an experimental aircraft, like what the guy was, it would have made a lot of noise in the first place in the cockpit. Let alone, you're not going to hear the cannon fire from the ground like that. And that was simply, dubbed in off of one of the sound effects records or something. But people bought that too. And Art said that was his biggest hoax he ever pulled off. And the people just ate it up. And, he enjoyed doing that once in a while because he was having fun and he wanted the audience to have fun.
Well, and we did. We always had fun with it. But that certainly, that gets right into like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds territory right there. When you're spinning a story like that and you've got somebody on on the radio as a guest, and you're hearing even effects, the sounds of things in the background and stuff. You are creating a story and a soundscape that you want people to buy into, and you want to see how far people will go with it and everything. And that is certainly right in that same kind of category there. It's amazing.
Well, the War of the Worlds, we got to also think that was done, in the 30s?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, much earlier than what he was doing there. But that just shows the power of that and that kind of medium and a trusted host that people just went for that ride.
Well, you could imagine though, in the 30s, let's face it, you didn't have internet, right? You didn't have TV, you had radio. And where the people,
everything was, it was slow, and it was telephones and maybe cables and like a telegraph or something, telegrams. But no, we don't have the speed to be able to vet things like we do now and communicate at lightning speed, to the other side of the world like we do now. So no, people were very frightened and freaked out by that because you couldn't easily and quickly vet what was going on in some other community somewhere else if this stuff was all going down. And then you're hearing that richly produced on the radio in a way that sounded very authentic.
Well, don't forget, too, let's face it, in the 30s, a lot of the farmers out there, they weren't very well educated. Okay, and their idea of an airplane was a biplane and things like that. So when you started talking, about we're being invaded by aliens and putting in all these weird sound effects, and they're just, I guess that would scare the people. But you know what? I was having a guest on my show here a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about UFOs and are they real and aliens and are they real and all that stuff. I said, honestly, even as advanced as we are with the internet, with, talk radio, TVs, all these movies, it's been going like Andromeda, Star Trek, and all these other things for years. I still think people would freak out this as much. If a UFO landed today somewhere and, and people, saw it, I think there would be a massive panic.
I think partially you're right. I think some people would absolutely panic, and I think the rest of us would be fascinated and want to go take a look at it and maybe go for a ride. I think there would be a lot of both, but I'm sure there would be some great alarm and panic from certain people because, well, it would people fear what they don't know and don't understand. And also, people, it would mess with the paradigm they had in their lives, whether it was, the structure of society or what they think is out there, and what that all meant to them on a social and even religious scale and on down. I mean, you would shake some people to their very foundations if that happened, And then other people would just, is equally just go, okay, cool, I'm intrigued. Let's see what the hell's going on here because I am fascinated by that, and they want a closer look then. So I think you would get both, but without a doubt, you would get some people that would totally freak out. Now today in the 21st century with the technology we have, I think less than in the past. But would you get mass panic and rioting? I don't know. It would be it would be an experiment just to see that happen, to see how everyone react to it, and then if people would tear their faces out of their screens long enough to even notice that it was happening.
Or jump off the buildings like they did when the War of the Worlds went. I don't know. I got to ask you a question. Yeah. Okay, you went for acting school. What, because people wanted to know, what made you become an actor and not just like, cop and robbers type of actor or cowboy, films or war films.
Horror,
yeah, got you into horror type movies and stuff. What made you go?
Certainly dark genre stuff. Yeah. Well, I had studied theater and acting in college and got some good training there and went through all of that. And I had taken all of that simply to use in my stage show, in my illusion show, my Gothic illusion show, because I wanted to make it better. I think all entertainers, especially if you want to go out and be a magician or illusionist, you need some foundations in theater and drama and comedy and things. If you're going to present these things and try and pull off like amazing, miraculous things are going to happen, I think having some sort of really solid performance training in your background is essential. And I see a lot of people in my industry that do not do it well because they never bothered to study anything other than the magic end of it. And some of them are technically wonderful with magic and illusion, but as entertainers, they fall flat. And that's a problem. That's a problem with some of what I see. Not all of it, but certainly you see it, and I think that's what gives magic, the M word, a bad reputation, as people have seen, as much bad magic as they have good, certainly, And so I wanted it to be good, and I wanted to make a theater show and a big stage show and a present, an experience. So I went to study that, and that's where I got my acting background and my theater background. And I never thought I was going to use acting to become an actor. I simply wanted that in my toolbox to use in my own show. So I was doing everything I could to make myself a better, more well-rounded entertainer and presenter and host and illusionist. And there's an old saying that says a magician is an actor playing the part of a magician. And then some of that was in there rattling around, as I thought, well, that's probably a good thing then, is to study some theater and some acting, and just learning stagecraft in general was very handy for being an illusionist. And that's all happening at the same time. I'm what I talked about earlier, transitioning from traditional magic and performance into something highly stylized in my own, and taking it to the dark side. It's all inspired by the Gothic industrial subculture and dark genre, dark culture, horror films, sci-fi, and the paranormal and the occult, and all of that is all getting mixed in there, and also funny stuff too. I mean, there was a short while where I also performed. I had a small version of my show that I did in comedy clubs, and I middled and headlined in comedy clubs, like other guys like Max Maven, had as well. He had started doing tours in comedy clubs, and he was a very kind of dry mentalist, but it was a dry humor in there as well. So I had done it, and I was like doing my Gothic thing, and having fun with it, and creating the wicked humor, and even using it in comedy venues. So there is a fun side, which is what makes Dark Sticky fun. That's certainly part of the fun. So as I went along and I made my own persona, and it worked, my friends that I had met through making cable television and other things, came to me and said, "Hey, we like your look, and we want somebody out of the box to play this, and horror and horror films, and you have a little acting background, so would you like to be in my horror film?" And I'm, of course, saying yes, because I was geeked out of my mind thinking that I get to be in horror films, the kind of stuff that I had watched all my life, and never ever thought or even considered about being in them. I was an avid consumer of movies and film. But I never thought, I'm going to go jump into that, because I wanted to be on television, because I wanted to present magic on TV, so people would know me and they would come and see me live. And that was the formula. I mean, Doug Henning, David Copperfield made a big thing about it. They did like yearly specials, and then they went out on the road, and then everyone went out to see them. Well, the best laid plans, right? They go astray. So I didn't get into bigger TV right away. I had done some here and there, but I did my own cable TV show, and it was after, at the end of that, I really had my persona and my look. A lot of it's the look that gets you in the door in this business, and that, as long as you know where you want to go with that, because it's got to fit the kind of roles you want. So then that, got me asked. So I didn't even audition. My first film was called The Item, and it was made by Dan Clark, and Dan and I used to work in cable TV back in Chicago. And Dan's out in Hollywood now. He produces television, a lot of kids TV and stuff. But when he first went out there, he made a movie, and the movie's called The Item, and it is a weird ride. I encourage you to go find it. Be prepared for a very, very, very weird ride. It went all the way to Sundance. It was a Sundance film. We were there at Sundance with that. It was the same time The Blair Witch project was
Oh,
there.
wow.
So there were 2 films everyone was going, you got to go see these things, because they were out of the box, and then one was Blair Witch and one was us, The Item. And they flew me out. I got to go to Sundance and everything, and when I was on set shooting that, I was like, I really like this. I want to do more of this. And I loved it. And then of course, to have your first film, which is, I mean, how rare is that?